Hello and welcome. In this video, we will learn about nested loops. Alright. Now before we learn about nested loops, let us write a program to print out the multiplication table of a number. Okay. What I want to do is ask for a number from the users and then print out the multiplication table of that number in this format. Alright, so let us begin. Here I will say num is equal to int input enter a number. Okay, I am asking this number from the users. Alright. Now this number does not change, right? It stays the same in all the rows. Next is this number. This number goes from 1 up until 10, correct? So let us declare a variable and set the value to 1. So here I will say count is equal to 1. Alright, I am declaring a variable by the name count and I am setting the value to 1. Okay, next let me use a while loop. While count is less than or equal to 10, print something. Okay, now why is this condition used? This is because count goes from 1 till 10. Count, which is this, goes from 1 till 10. So I have mentioned count less than or equal to 10. Alright, now let us print this. What is this? This is num, a number taken from the users, and this is count, and this is num into count or num multiplied by count, correct? So let us use that and complete the print statement. I will say F and in the placeholder I will say num and then X and then in another placeholder I will say count and then is equal to, and in one more placeholder num star count. Alright, now let me run this. When I run it, it asks me to enter a number. I will enter 8 and it keeps on printing 8 into 1 is equal to 8. Right? Now this has become an infinite loop because we have not used any escape mechanism here, or in other words, count is equal to 1 and this condition will always be true, and so we have an infinite loop. We have not incremented the value of count. Count has to go from 1 up until 10, right? So we need to increment the value of count by 1. So here I will say count is equal to count plus 1. Alright. Now let me run this. It asks me to enter a number. I will enter 8 and it gives out the multiplication table of 8. Alright. Now let us analyze this. When I run the program, it asks the users to enter a number, and when they enter, it is converted into integer and stored in this variable. Okay. Next, the value 1 will be stored in count. Alright. And when the while loop runs for the first time, it checks if count is less than or equal to 10. Count is equal to 1. 1 is less than 10, and so this comes out as true. When this comes out as true, this will be executed. Okay. Now, when this gets executed, we get this output. Num is what the user enters. Initial value of count is 1. Okay, 1. And then num into count is here in this case 8. Okay. After this gets executed, this line gets executed. So here we are updating the value of count. Initial value of count is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 will be stored in count. So the new value of count is 2. Next, once again this condition will be checked. Now the value of count is 2. 2 less than 10 comes out as true, and so once again this will be executed. When this gets executed, we have this line and the value of count updated to 3. And once again this condition will be checked, and the same thing repeats again and again until the value of count becomes 11. When the value of count becomes 11, this becomes false, and so the control comes out of the while loop. Okay. So this is how we print the multiplication table. Alright. So here let me change it back to count and count. Okay. So let me clear this and run it once again. I will enter 9 and it gives me the table of 9. Alright. Now, what I want to do is print the multiplication table in the reverse order. Meaning, I want to print 5 into 10 or whatever number the user enters into 10 first, and then 9, and then 8 going till 1. Okay. For that, we have to set the count value as 10 because we are starting from 10, right? 10. And here the condition changes to greater than or equal to 1, meaning from 10 we are going up until 1. Correct? Next, here we have to decrement 1. We are starting from 10, right? And every time we have to decrease 1 from the count value, right? So we are saying count is equal to count minus 1. Alright. So now let me run this. It says enter a number. I will enter 5 and it gives me the multiplication table of 5 in the reverse order. Alright. Yes. So let me clear this. Now let me change this back to 1 and this less than or equal to 10, and let this be plus. Okay. Now I will comment this out. Okay. I will comment this out, and now I will write a program to get the same result using a for loop, meaning I will print the multiplication table using a for loop. Alright. So this line is intact, meaning I want to ask the users to enter a number. So this is intact. Now I will say for count in range 1 to 10. Okay, for count in range 1 to 10 colon. And now I will copy the same print statement and paste it here. Okay. Now let me run the program. It asks me to enter a number. I will enter 5 and it prints out the multiplication table of 5. Okay. Now let us analyze this. Here the variable count takes the value from this function. Okay. You know that this function has numbers starting from 1 and going up until 10. So when the for loop runs for the first time, 1 will be stored in count and this print statement will be executed. And when that happens, we get this. When the for loop runs for the second time, value 2 will be stored in count and this will be executed. So this will be our result. And this keeps on happening up until value 10 from this gets stored in count and the last print statement is executed, which would get us this result or output. Okay. And after that, the for loop stops running. Okay. When we compare this for loop with this while loop, here we had to declare the variable, but here there is no need of that. All right. And here we had to check for this condition. Here there is no need for that because the loop stops when the value reaches 10. Here we had to increment the value of count. Here we don't have to do that because in every iteration the next value from the range function will be stored in count. Okay. So what we have achieved with this, we have achieved using this. All right. Now let me clear this. And now what I want to do is print the multiplication table in the reverse order. To do that, I have to change this to 10 because we are starting from 10 and then we are going up until 1. But then here I cannot have 1 because 1 will be excluded. So I will type 0 and then we have to mention the step value, and this is needed because we are going backwards. So I will say -1, meaning we are saying start from 10 and go till 1 in the step of -1. All right. So let me run the program. It says enter a number. I will enter 4 and hit enter, and it gives me the multiplication table in the reverse order. All right. Yes. So now let me clear this. Hoping that you have understood the programs, let me move to the nested loops. In simple words, a nested loop is nothing but a loop inside a loop. All right. Now, let me write a program and then explain you the concept. So I will close this and I will change this back to 1 comma 11. All right. Now I will write a program using a nested loop and then I will explain you the concept. Okay. I will say for num in range 1 to 10 and then I will copy this and paste it here. All right, I have pasted the same program here. Now let me comment this out. And here I will say print and then hyphens. Okay, and these hyphens must be inside double quotes. All right, now let me run this program and show you the result and then I will explain the concept. When I run this, it says enter a number. I do not want this. I forgot to comment this out. So let me do that. And now when I run the program, it gives me the multiplication table from 1 till 10. Okay, from 1 till 10. See, 10 into 10, 100. All right. And after each table, I have this as a separator. All right. You can see I have this as a separator. This as a separator. Okay. Now let me explain you how this works. Okay. Now this here is a nested loop because we have a for loop inside a for loop. All right. We can have a for loop inside a for loop or a while loop inside a for loop. We can also have a while loop inside a while loop or a for loop inside a while loop. All right. All these variations are possible. Here I have gone for and for. Okay. Now this is the outer loop and this is the inner loop. This is inside the inner loop and this is outside the inner loop but inside the outer loop. All right. Take some seconds to think about it. All right. Now, when we run the program for the first time, 1 will be stored in num from this range. Okay. Value 1 will be stored in num. And when 1 gets stored here, this will be executed once, one time. Okay. But this is one more for loop. So this count takes the value from 1 till 10 and then prints this out. And when that happens, we will have the multiplication table of 1. Okay. And at the end of it, we print this line. So this is the result. Okay. This is num 1 and these are all the count values. Okay. So when the num is equal to 1, this is the result. Next, when num becomes 2 or when num takes the value 2 from this range, this will run once again. And when this for loop runs, we have the multiplication table of 2. This is because count will take all the values from 1 till 10. From 1 till 10. Whereas the value of num will be only 2. So when this runs for the second time, we have this table along with this. To sum it up, when the outer loop runs one time, the inner loop runs 10 times. Okay? Meaning, when num has the value 1, this will be executed 10 times by count taking all the values from 1 till 10, and then this will be executed one time. Okay. When num takes 2, this will be executed 10 times by count taking all the values from 1 till 10, and then this will be executed, and so on. And for each num value, we get a multiplication table of that particular number. Alright. Now, it may have sounded confusing for some of you, and so what I want you to do is go ahead and practice using a while loop inside a for loop inside a for loop, and other variations. Alright, and only when you practice you will be able to understand the concept. Alright, yes. So this is it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and thank you for watching.